What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of our Out of the Park 26 series, where we're trying to rebuild the Pittsburgh Pirates. Last we left off, we had sort of completed the first-year player draft of 2026 and made our way through the All-Star break, where we ended up trading away our best reliever, Dennis Santana. And I've sort of continued on a little bit off camera to the end of the month. I felt like this was a natural kind of stopping point for us. But before we get into recapping the news, I just wanted to say, as always, I appreciate your support on these videos. Any likes and comments you could throw my way would be really appreciated. I'm happy to have a conversation about the team in the comments if you want. Let me know how we're doing here, if you would do anything differently. But of course, no pressure. Just your viewership is enough. So I just wanted to say thanks for watching in general. But yeah, as I mentioned, we've simulated to the end of the month. Bit of a mixed bag here. We lose 2 of 3 against Cleveland. We had a really crazy game here on the 26th where we lost by 10 runs, but in extra innings. So we'll have to take a look at that one. But then we finished the month taking 2 of 3 against the White Sox, which brings us to a 10-12, really close to 500 record on the month. So, we're still well below our expected record, and it's mostly because we're struggling to perform in one-run games, only winning about 40% of those. A lot of the batting categories are still bottom third to bottom half of the NL, but our pitching is kind of turning around a bit, so that's pretty good. But in terms of standings, we're still pretty much where we left off last episode. Not much has changed. 5.5 out of a wild card spot. And then when we look at the expected records in our division, it's a little frustrating to see 51 and 52 for us would be tied for second, or just behind Cincinnati at first. So really just the luck has not gone our way this year. So maybe that turned around, maybe it doesn't. The plan for this video to sort of set your expectations is going to be to finish out the rest of the year. So we're going to go through August and September in their entirety, and then depending on how things go, if we're out of it, maybe we'll move quickly through it. If we're competing, we'll be sweating down the stretch as we play those final games in September to see if we can sneak into the playoffs. So all in all, it should be pretty exciting. I did want to touch on a couple of news items that came across in the final week and a half of July. The first thing we did was to make a roster move with our unfortunate friend Juan Brito. We decided to just cut bait, a little bit of sunk cost fallacy with him, where maybe we let him linger on the roster too long. He was a full negative WAR player, which I think we can, in hindsight, attribute to this 40 BABIP rating. Everything in play was just an out. It was not getting down. So we decided to cut him loose. Really just kind of unfortunate that this didn't work out better, but we felt like it was the right time to do so. And the corresponding move was to bring up this guy, Jack Brannigan, who is a capable bat, righty hitter, but you like the arm, decent up the middle defense. We're training him at second base. He's not fully online there quite yet, and just a 9 plate appearance sample, so I don't want to look at these numbers too much, but you can see in AAA that he was batting .290, close to a 900 OPS with a strong WAR. So at 25, we kind of figured it's good to see what we have here. He was a former third-round pick back in 2022 out of Notre Dame, and funnily enough, he actually has two-way player versatility. He throws in the upper 90s, but the stuff and the movement just isn't quite there with him. So we've toggled that off, and we're just going to pivot him to a full-time infield bat. So I'm excited to see if he can be kind of a spark plug for us down the stretch here. He's going to sort of back up the middle, second and short, and then Triolo is going to back up at the corners, and that's going to be how we have things set up for the time being. Mitch Keller did make one start, and it was this very bizarre game where we go into extras, then we kind of go blow for blow in the 10th and in the 12th, and then they explode for 10 runs in the 13th, which is just awful. So, like, I'm looking at our pitching. It's like, not so good with Keller there. He did throw a lot of pitches, but, it didn't go great. And then Majinski struggles. Ferguson was great. Adam maybe stretched a little long with the 2-inning outing, and then everyone just it snowballs, and Rogers and Holderman just get destroyed. So that's pretty tough. Holderman couldn't find it. He walked 4 in the inning. It's just kind of a brutal showing. But that's just like a very bizarre game to see. So I think that's all we have. I lied. There is a development update here where I wanted to note that Skeens has lost a tick of his velocity after the herniated disc in his back and sort of his performance this year. I think this is just a consequence of all of those factors together. But he's still throwing 101 sometimes. But then our trade acquisition here, Skylar Hales, has already unlocked a little more movement potential, and his control rating has already gone up in just the week and a half he's been in our system. So we're hoping he comes along strong in the back half at AAA, and he can factor in for us, next year, possibly even in September if we feel like that's necessary. But I think those are the updates. Cedric Mullins is really hot right now. Jared Jones has turned it on as well. He's looking awesome. So curious to see how we perform down the stretch. We're going to get into some games here. I did receive a note that we have a roster selection deadline for the Arizona Fall League on the 13th here. So I'm going to look to do that on camera with you guys. I think the plan we're going to go through this week with the games that, here against Colorado at home, and then our road trip on the West Coast, San Francisco and Los Angeles. We'll probably jump back in at the 9th or 10th here to go over those roster selections, and then keep things advancing through the end of the month. So stay tuned for those results. Fingers crossed we do pretty well, but I'll be back in a sec. Okay, y'all, welcome back. As you can see, pretty flat month so far for us. We sweep Colorado, which is good, but then drop 2 of 3 against the Giants and 2 of 3 against the Dodgers as well. So 5-4 record. We have, however, inched up a little bit in the wild card. We're only 4 back now, so it's not totally unfeasible for us to jump back in here. But I wanted to jump back in because, as we talked about, there are some decisions to make with Arizona Fall League. And I think this is where you do it. If we go to this team, this is where our players are sort of relegated to. And the AI has sort of gone in and made selections, or actually I can redo it. And I don't hate the guys they've selected for us. So Lonnie White Jr., Mitch Jebb. I probably wouldn't select Sean Ross, so we may swap him out. Let's actually do that for Sungche. Ethan Lage, Alfonso. All of these are pretty good for batting. I don't know that I want anyone else getting... Well, Wilfredo Antunez, I would say we want in there. So, the question is just at the expense of who. So, Brett Callahan looks like he kind of stinks. So, let's go Antunez. And, okay, yeah, we feel good about this. There's no one else, that I would want. But from a pitching perspective, I see Skylar Hales here as the closer on the staff, and a lot of our guys are actually already selected to pitch here. I don't know that I would make big changes with Sean Sullivan is at this point I think we're out on him. These other guys, I'm good with how this is set up. So those will be the players that get fall league run for us, I suppose. I think the players we're really watching out for would be Omar Alfonso, our catching prospect. Hopefully, like, he's been dominant at AA. Hopefully this just catapults him to having a strong season at AAA next year. And then Nick York and Chang, they're kind of just whatever, sort of 27th man, like depth pieces at this point. But maybe we'll get something good out of Antunes. And then Lonnie White Jr. as well is like a little bit raw probably, but as a defender who has a little bit of like gap power upside, I kind of like him. So those are the fall league updates, I suppose. We go back to our Pirates here. Next up on the schedule, not much has happened in terms of like performance or injury. I think we may look to switch things up in the outfield a bit so far through the month of August. Barossa has sort of struggled. We may flip him in G1 Bay. We may give G1 full run at left field. Kind of like TBD on that. But something I'm mulling. No moves outside of that, really. Spencer Horwitz has been on fire, which is awesome. But we have San Francisco again here, and then a couple divisional opponents here. So we may run through to the 20th, and then I'll jump back in and recap on how the week goes. All right, guys, we're back here after kind of a tough week. We take 2 of 3 against the Giants, and then lose 3 of 4 against Milwaukee and 2 of 3 against the Cubs to close out the week. We sort of slipped a bit in the standings. We're now 10 back in the division and 6.5 back of the wild card. So we're starting to see it sort of slip away here at the end of August. I think part of the reason we went on this skid was we suffered kind of a minor injury. O'Neal Cruz kind of tweaked his hamstring, and it was a 1-week injury, so we put him on the 10-day and called up Matt Gorski to sort of fill his right field role. I didn't really want to risk running him out there on the hamstring, so we decided to be really conservative with it. So we kind of lacked the offense in the last week. One notable thing that did happen was this game against San Francisco. Mitch Keller threw a complete game shutty, 11K, no walk, 2-hit, dominant game from Keller. So he's hot right now. Good to see him back and dealing. But the team as a whole, we're kind of struggling. And I was going into all the box scores of these games, and I kind of identified maybe an issue. And it's in the back end of our bullpen. Jason Adam now has his ERA floating up close to 5, and the WHIP is pretty high. The FIP is slightly elevated. He's giving up homers, 13 meltdowns. He's kind of falling off the tracks a bit. If you go to his splits, like his August has just been pretty awful. His July, the WHIP is really elevated as well. So he's walking 10 per 9 in July after a strong first half of the season. Like the last 2 months have not been very kind to him. So I'm thinking we need to make a change, and I'm willing to give Mike Burrows the shot at closer. You may think Ferguson, makes the obvious choice to be the he leads us in shutdown, meltdown, and has really strong stats. But if we kind of compare him to Burrows, they're not all that different. Burrows actually has a lower WHIP. FIP, sure, Burrows is a little higher, but strikeout rate also a little higher. The average against is very comparable, sub 200 for both. So I just kind of like having Ferguson in this setup role where he can also double as specialist, or we may even toggle it to high leverage, to be honest. I think maybe this makes the most sense. And then, Adam, we'll see how he can do. Hopefully, just the change of role is enough to sort of wake him up. But those are the updates so far. I'm not super encouraged by our performance so far this month. 9-10, and they're just like, ho-hum 500 month for us. But let me finish out the month here, and then we'll sort of reevaluate at the beginning of September, and we'll look to make our call-ups. So that'll be something we'll have to decide on as well. But stay tuned for, what happens. All right, guys, we're really sort of sliding to end the month here. We finished out August, and things have taken a turn for the worse. Swept against Cincinnati, lose 2 of 3 against Toronto, lose 2 of 3 against the Dodgers, and lose the first of a set against St. Louis. So we are now 57-75, 13.5 back in the Central. Not good. The run we were dreaming on has not materialized. We're now 10.5 back from a wild card spot. So just a brutal month overall. I think we'll likely speed through the rest of this season and kind of review team performance as a whole at the end of the video. But, it is the 1st of September. We've made some call-ups. I don't know that any of them will be majorly impactful for us or not. But, I guess we'll just kind of see how the season goes. At this point, I'm just content to, get through it. I don't really think we're playing for much here. So we called up Ryan Harbin. If you'll remember him from spring training, he was sort of the emergency bullpen arm that we added to our 40-man to protect him from the Rule 5. He's had a pretty good year in AAA, sub-3 ERA, not walking too many guys despite, he is walking quite a few guys, but for a 35 control, it's not awful. Batters hitting just over 200 against him. I sort of surveyed all of the relief options available at AAA and landed on him being the strongest option. Obviously, we have Skylar Hales, who we just traded for, but I felt like the home run situation with him was a little too risky at the moment. In his couple of games at AAA, he's kind of been all over the place, striking out a ton, but also giving up the long ball quite a bit. So felt like he wasn't quite ready. And Hunter Stratton, was another option for us, where you just look at these numbers and you're not blown away when hitters are hitting 300 against him. So we ended up just choosing Harbin. We're gonna see what he can offer as a middle reliever for us. He's very splits dependent, being a 2-pitch guy, slider sinker, so you worry about him against lefties a little bit. But our bullpen has just been so bad in the month of August. We sort of had some chaos in the back end, Burrow's first couple of opportunities, he blew 2 of 3 saves, so the writing was kind of on the wall that that role was a little overwhelming for him. So we decided to give it to Ferguson, and then he's been getting touched up in his last couple of games, big three earned runs against. So it seems like no one really wants it. Jason Adam has weirdly been good since we pulled him from the closer role. So maybe the answer is he goes back there for the remainder of the year. We may actually just do that to see how things go. I don't expect much for the rest of this season. No other major news bits with the pitching staff. We can review stats at the end of the year. And then lineup-wise, our call-up, I didn't know what to do. No one at AAA was really screaming for a call-up. Mitch Jebb, the one guy who maybe you would look at, has a pending foot injury. So that sort of removed him from the equation. And this guy, Jace Bowen, I think is interesting eventually, but he played at Double A most of the year and really just got like a taste of AAA action. And with, these ratings being in the 40s, I'm not ready to call him up. I may change my mind as the season goes on, but the guy we ended up calling up, funnily enough, was Ronnie Simon, our old friend, who maybe fooled us into thinking he was something he's not. But I still just look at these ratings and wonder if they can play at all. So he's going to DH for us, and we're going to kick Reynolds out to left field. Barossa and G1 Bay have sort of cooled off as of late, so they're going to be backup roles. I also noticed Reynolds is like almost a full negative WAR player for us at this point. He has really been sliding ever since a good May, June, below average July, and just a brutal August with a 24 WRC plus. So I'm going to try to get him out in the field and see if that changes anything for him, and we should probably, swap him in the order as well. So we'll go Davis cleanup, Reynolds 6-hole. But again, I don't know that there's much for us to dream on for the rest of the year. That's just sort of the thought process for September call-ups. So I'll go to the halfway point of the month here, let you guys know, do a quick check-in on how things have gone, and then we'll probably wrap pretty quick. So I'll be right back. It's just kind of a disappointing end to the year, but we'll be done with it shortly. Okay, y'all, checking in here at the midpoint of September. As you can see, we haven't been playing all that terribly. 7-5 on the month, but our dreams this season, the ship has sailed on those. Like, there's no way we're gonna be able to make it back into potential playoff contention. We're 10 games out on the last wild card spot. So I did just want to give 2 updates on a couple of injuries we've had. The first, little intense, Cedric Mullins had an oblique strain, which put him out for 5 weeks. So, his season's pretty much going to be done. Great year. We'll go over his stats sort of at the end, but that's unfortunate. And then also Dalton Rogers suffered a herniated disc in his back, so his season also done as well. 2 guys that we were, sort of counting on. The corresponding move was to bring back Hunter Barco to the lefty specialist role, and then we brought up first baseman Nick Samio to get some at-bats. So we'll keep pushing here, and then we'll wrap up the video with just kind of a stat season overview and kind of think about how we might want to attack the upcoming offseason. But we'll be back with those those thoughts shortly. All right, guys, we have reached the end of the 2026 journey. On the whole, September was our, funnily enough, our highest winning percentage month of the entire season, but it was a little, too little too late for the Buccos. We finished at 73 and 89 on the season, which is also, funnily enough, exactly where we landed last season. So all of the hard work and deliberation and strategy we've poured into this season has landed us right back where we started at 73 and 89. Last place in the Central, not bottom tier in the NL, but definitely bottom third, right? So we just beat out Philly and Arizona and Miami. No major stat leaders for us, but on the whole, kind of just disappointing. If you look at our expected record, that sort of ended up falling as well, and our run differential really plummeted down the stretch. Just I think back to the brutal August we had as sort of our the nail in the coffin for our team this year. You can sort of look at the stats. We were pretty brutal against left-handed starting pitching, so that might be a need to address in the offseason. One-run games, we did manage to fight back sort of closer to 500 there, but in extra innings we really struggled. Batting wise, pretty much we can make improvements across the board. I don't think we're really hitting for power quite like we need to. Steals were fine. ERA, the bullpen really fell apart. I mean, we went over this just a couple minutes ago, but down the stretch, the bullpen was really brutal. For much of the season, these were kind of in the, I don't know, upper half at least, like maybe even upper third of the NL, and then we just sort of fell apart. So we can kind of do, I guess, a little bit of stat review here. If you're curious about the playoffs before that, though, here's what the tree is looking like. In our NL, LA and Atlanta take the top 2 seeds, and Colorado actually ends up making it. I'm curious who they're running out there. Looks like a big year from Pavin Smith. And they're dealing with quite a few injuries. So Brenton Doyle and Chris Bryant, Gavin Stone. But David Bednar, wow, our guy. 43 saves to lead the NL. So a little bit of a prove-it season for him. He leads the Rockies to their first playoff in a while. They'll go against the Mets, and then we have a central matchup here at Brewers-Cards to face the Braves. In the AL, Minnesota and Texas. Let's check in to see how Dennis Santana performed with them. Ooh, a little bit, looks like there was an adjustment to playing in Texas for him. So he was definitely not as good as he was with us. But they make it regardless. And we also have Kansas City, Cleveland, Seattle, Boston. So we'll see how this plays out at the beginning of next episode. Our Pirates, though, if we're going to just kind of go around the horn here and evaluate everyone's performance, we can start with Paul Skeens, who, 30 starts. This is not the Paul Skeens we're used to seeing. This is not dominant at all. He sort of recovered down the stretch. If we go to his monthly splits, October was rough, but only one outing. June, pretty good. July, pretty good. August, decent, but rough September. He was just never quite right. So we're hoping for a bounce back for him. He's due his first arbitration year, and I suspect we're going to keep him through this year when I'm thinking about our strategy. It's just when it jumps up into the, $20 and $30 million AAV range where I get a little scared. So I think we'll keep him next year and potentially either look to move off him at the deadline or in the off season of, 2027, 2028. But I don't think the performance is strong enough now. I think we would be trading him at a low point in his value. So I would love to see another really strong season for him next year before we, jettison him to a contender. Jared Jones ended up making 27 starts for us, so sizable workload, 154 innings off the TJ recovery, and he was kind of up and down, but I kept seeing really amazing starts, flashes of 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 earned, kind of outings like that, where he would just be dominant. So I think next year he's going to be really good for us. And if I'm being, practical or strategic, I guess, I think Jones could be the pitcher we end up locking up long term. He's still going to be on the minimum next year, so I'm not going to sign him to a deal where that will be his salary. I think maybe we'll look to do something in spring training where we extend him past his arbitration years. I'm not going to fully abuse the contract logic in this game. I'm going to give him a deal that's enticing to him to where he can still hit free agency at 30 or 31. But hopefully we can buy out a couple of his non-arbitration years at a decent price because I think he's going to be good now that he's got the Tommy John behind him. Braxton Ashcraft, I'm a little torn on, right? He had an amazing rookie performance for us last year, and this year he was back. He pitched nearly 150 innings with a 2.2 WAR. He's never going to walk guys, but the strikeouts were a lot lower this year than previous, and his whip was a little inflated, like batters. We're starting to get used to him. The main thing I'm worried about is the stamina. He's not pitching deep into games. He's not giving us much length at all. Granted, in these games, he was getting touched up, so from a manager standpoint, you're going to want to pull him. But I just kind of worry that this isn't what we should be doing with him. So we'll see if we have room in the off-season development lab to push his stamina higher, because I still kind of value his team control and ratings. But he's sort of dipping in the control as well. At one point we valued it at a 70 grade control, and now he's back down to 60, so he's lost 10 full points there. So I'm not really sure what to do. If you feel strongly about moving him to the bullpen or getting him development lab work, let me know. At still just 27, I do like him. He's definitely going to be with us next year in some capacity, but we just have to figure out, what that's going to be. Mitch Keller ended up making 15 starts, so knock on wood, the elbow injury is behind him, and overall he was pretty solid. The whip is a little elevated, the FIP a little elevated, but I'm not too mad at it. He's leaving 78% left on base is good. 1 WAR. He's good in the clubhouse. I don't think he's really that popular. No, but we have him for the next 2 years. He's going to be part of our starting rotation for sure. Probably as our 3 starter. And then we have Thomas Harrington, who we were kind of betting against him all preseason and even in the beginning of the year, but he manages to give us 158 innings, 29 starts, with all around pretty good, respectable numbers. I'm not too mad at a 2.2 WAR. 5-pitch guy. He's kind of like a kitchen sink kind of guy. I think there's a lot of good momentum here. I do sort of worry. I was looking, he has a poor developmental relationship with our pitching coach, which is a little bizarre. So I don't think he's a candidate to be extended long-term or anything like that, but we're just going to, obviously keep him through his minimum years. He's still not ARB eligible. I'm encouraged by this season. He may even get a few down ballot votes for Rookie of the Year. We'll have to see. But good year from him. The other starter guys, obviously Bubba is fuming, but he's not. It's not our fault, right? He's mad at his performance and the team record. He really struggled, especially down the stretch. If we look from honestly June on, April, May, these ERAs, we can work with these numbers. June, he actually had a negative strikeout minus walk rate. July, it was around this point where we moved him to the bullpen, I believe, and he never really bounced back. So we got a lot of work to do with him. His stamina dropped marginally. He's still throwing hard, though. I think we may look to do secondary pitch improvement with him to give him another elite offering, but we'll also think about movement. I'm not quite sure what to do. Obviously, we still like him. He's a top, 15 prospect, and we're hoping for a bounce back. This is maybe just a little sophomore slump, or at least that's what we're hoping for. Johan Oviedo, I think he performed better as a reliever, and when I look ahead to his contract at $3.6 million, I'm sort of on the fence of do we bring him back or should we cut him loose, right? because I don't want to pay him that much money if he's just going to be sent back down to AAA on the one option year. And I don't know that he has loud enough stuff to play in the bullpen. So I don't know. I would be curious your thoughts. Negative WAR player on the year. He kind of did get injured early on, so maybe that played a factor in his performance. But I don't know what to make of him yet. We'll kind of think it over in the offseason. But top to bottom in our bullpen, Jason Adam was our closer, 37 saves, 9 blown, so kind of elevated blown save number there. And, we've documented his struggles down the stretch, but ultimately a negative WAR player for us. He has sort of regressed, which we knew was a possibility due to his age, but it's happened quite a bit faster than maybe we were expecting when we had signed him. We viewed him as like a 55 grade guy. Now he's all the way down to 45. And it's really the stuff and movement taking a step back. So pretty tough look for him. We have him on a 2-year deal, but I can't see there being any demand for him next year. So he's possibly even a DFA candidate in spring training if he's not looking good, if he continues to regress over the offseason because at just 25 stamina, I don't know if there's any point in running him out there, and I don't think it would be realistic to trade him anywhere after this season. So maybe a bit of a mistake on our end betting on Jason Adam, but he was good for half the season, so whatever. Mike Burrows, I think it's honestly feasible that he could start for us should he need to. He's been great for us in the bullpen the last 2 seasons, though. Year over year, he's kind of regressed a bit in terms of ERA, but his whip was better. His FIP was improved. Homers are down. Walks down. Strikeouts also down, though. So, on the whole, 0.6 WAR. He doubled his WAR total year over year. I do like him. Generally like him. He's not ARB eligible yet. The thing to keep in mind, if we do move him to starter, the stuff is going to tick down to a 45, so you kind of wonder if he's going to remain effective or not there. He's sort of settled into a nice bullpen role, so I'm I don't really know if I want to, switch things up for him or not, but overall he's been good. I expect him to be back. Caleb Ferguson, also really strong, probably our best reliever, 1.5 WAR. We're shutting things down. We have him for $3.5 million next year, and I expect him to be in the same role. Pending any offseason regression, he'll be our lefty setup man and kind of back end lefty. Majinski here, we started him in long relief and then moved him up to middle, halfway through the year, and his numbers on the whole are pretty good. 0.5 WAR. Of course, he also could start. But again, with just 3 pitches and they're kind of below average, I don't know that I want him to. So I think it's likely he returns in sort of a mop-up middle relief role. I don't mind the 2.2 for him. So I think it's likely he'll come back, although in the latest scouting report, he did lose a tick of velocity and his movement declined. So we'll keep tabs on that. He's not very old. He's nearly 28, but I guess it's possible that he falls off a cliff. We'll kind of monitor that closely as we move forward. And same with Colin Olderman. His performance was really mad, and he's upset with himself. For most of the year, he was decent, 3 ERA performer, but ends up finishing as a negative WAR player. I don't know that we bring him back, although his estimate is, much lower at just 1.9. He does have all of his option years left, so I don't love carrying AAA guys on major league contracts, but it's feasible we bring him back. I'll just have to figure it out. We think he's lost a tick in velocity, but this was all the way back in January, so he's played like this the whole season. He's kind of maintained his ratings, but, ultimately for a 40-grade pitcher, I don't know that it makes sense for us to be paying for that. So we may end up non-tendering him. Ryan Harbin and his very limited sample was not, terrible, but I think it's likely he gets removed from the 40-man. I just don't like carrying someone with this low of control. Even if the stuff is there, I just don't want any part of this. It's just so limiting with what he can do. And then Hunter Barco, I'm still, pretty interested in him long term. Even as a reliever, we view him as 50 grade potential. Should the control and the movement come along, and as a reliever in the majors, well, his ERA is a little bit inflated, but the whip is good. The FIP is high. So, there's definitely work for him to do, but he's still in the minimum with 2 option years left. We are not totally out on him just yet. And the last pitcher I'm remembering on our injured list, Dalton Rogers. Overall, he's just kind of a replacement level player for us, but for part of the season, he was getting full run, like lefty righty, just general middle relief. I think in a lefty specialist role, he may excel. But again, he's just a 45 or a 40 grade guy, so I don't know that we want to bank on him being our primary lefty specialist out of the bullpen. He does have 2 option years left. We just started the clock on his pro career, so it's likely he's back in some capacity, but it's to be determined on what that is. But if we go to the batters here, position by position, Henry Davis finishes with a positive WRC plus. I think I actually have this, split here, so we'll remove that. 102 WRC plus, 1.5 WAR on the year. A nice bounce back for him. We were kind of doubting him. 12 homers, 42 RBI in 91 games. So, feasibly a 20 homer guy should he have played the full season. All right, which is pretty good. Like, I don't know that he's the defender that we necessarily want. Like, definitely not with the zone rating or efficiency. So, I guess it's feasible he would even DH for us, and we look to bring up another backup catcher next year for in need of like a righty hitter. But he's going into ARB. I think we do bring him back just because. I'm not ready to give up on him quite yet. Andy Rodriguez, 1.5 WAR on the year, but most of that value is coming from his defense. He's not really much of a hitter. His power kind of regressed. He's still on the minimum for next year, so he will definitely be back. And in terms of fielding, he is a positive, zone rating. The efficiency isn't quite there, and he's not throwing many guys out. But as far as like options on our roster, I think he's one of the better ones up for the major league level. So we'll kind of figure out what we're doing there. Nick Samio in a limited sample really kind of struggled, so. I'm not sure he's ever a major league bat for us unless, something truly goes wrong. But, maybe our best player on the year with all of this light blue was Spencer Horwitz, who put up a 3.6 WAR and a 129 WRC plus. So we hit him leadoff for the majority of the year with a 400 on-base percentage. Like, that's, so sick. Strikeout to walk ratio almost even there. Not the home run pop, but 37 doubles in our park is, awesome. So he was really amazing, you guys. Like, I don't think, with him being 28, he's still going to be on the minimum next year. Like, you could consider, offering him a long-term deal, right? But with him being 28, I'm content to just play it year by year because by the time he's at the end of his ARB, he's going to be, pushing 33, 34. So I just don't think the time aligns with him, unfortunately, for for his sake of getting paid. So we're just gonna ride it out year by year, and who knows if he's ultimately this guy or if he's closer to he was his performance last year, or more likely he's somewhere in between. But on the whole, I think our strongest WAR season out of anyone, Jack Brannigan and his cup of coffee. Well, more so than a cup of coffee. He had a full month of run, but he never really got the bat going. I think he's just going to be depth for us if someone were to get injured. Ke'Bryan, 0.2 WAR, so a step back from last season in every major slash line, including his steals. He didn't steal nearly as many bases, only 3 homers, 33 RBI. We're still, unfortunately, tied to him for at least 3 more seasons. So, I'm definitely going to keep him on the books. I'm going to treat it as if it's untradeable. But we may look to make an adjustment in terms of like our starting lineup. It just kind of depends. I'm still content to handcuff myself with it just for the storyline of the series, but he's not good, plain and simple. Triolo, similar story, although he is a positive WAR player, more so than Cabrian was. He's hitting a little bit more homers. Decent defense, but just a 631 OPS. I don't know. Now that he's into his RB years, do we really want to pay this? I guess we'll see. It's possible that we end up paying this first RB year and then cut him loose after. I guess we'll just have to, kind of play it by ear and see what we're feeling. But, you don't love this ground ball hitting. I've gone on a tangent about this a lot. It's not ideal. Okay, we're almost done here. Piguero, 2.5 WAR at shortstop. I think he surprised us being able to stick there all year. Got off to a really hot start and then kind of fell back to earth a little bit. So finishes with 261 average. The OBP is not there because, he's not great at drawing those walks. But 688 OPS, 8 homers, 60 ribbies, 15 steals, 33 doubles. In terms of his fielding at shortstop, he was, fine. 4.5 zone rating, positive efficiency. So, definitely better than expected. I don't know that we want to have him as our shortstop long term. But in his first season there, he did well, and he'll be back on the minimum next year in some capacity for sure. Rule 5 pick Jorge Barrosa. Showed signs at some point of the season and then regression at other points. I'm not willing to commit to him making the opening day roster next year, but now that we have him on, a non-Rule 5 deal, he'll have 2 option years, so we'll be able to send him up and down as we see fit. Same thing with G1 Bay. I believe he still has option years. Yeah, he still has 1 left, so he will likely return, and he was actually great for us in a 54-game sample, 22 ribbies, 3 homers. So it's possible that he is just our backup outfielder next year. He is a lefty, and we are very lefty-heavy, so I'm trying to balance that out a bit more, but 1.1 WAR for him is, pretty good. But back to our other guys, Termar ended up getting 81 games, and he had his ups and downs. He ends up finishing below average and at a negative WAR, so I think a lot of the WAR was from fielding, where he's a negative 5 zone rating at second base. We want him in left field ideally. We were just forced into playing him at second with the Nick Gonzalez injury, but if we go month by month for him as well, you can kind of see how, at least at the major league level in June and July, he was really awesome, and then just kind of the wheels fell off in August, September. So he's obviously a part of our future. We hope he can perform well for us next year. And then Brian Reynolds, 13 homers, 65 ribbies, 15 steals. He's just okay for a DH. You definitely want a lot more slugging, but I don't know that he's I don't think that he has that in his bat. So I'm not quite sure what to do with him because we're tied to him. Again, multi-year, we have at least 3 more years, 4 more years with him. So he's likely going to be our DH still, and we're going to have to bury him at the bottom of the lineup. But we've sort of tried to optimize for that by just running back his defense and just trying to boost his power. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about Brian Reynolds. Ronnie Simon, 1 option year left. We may carry him next year just as an emergency backup. Frustrating. He was actually crushing it in September with a 163 WRC plus for us. So, like, you're kind of wondering where that was at the start of the year when we really needed it. But he was fine down the stretch. And then our last guy, O'Neal Cruz here, finishes just average 100 WRC plus, 2 WAR. Did bring the strikeouts down year over year and the average up marginally, but like he's pretty much the same guy as he was last year. 28 homers, 78 RBI, only 19 steals though this season. So I think it was an improvement running him at right field though. I'm pretty sure he was like outstanding there. Yeah, 2.4 zone rating, 2.7 on the arm. So he's definitely our best player still. He's set to make a little bit more money. This might be the opportunity where, we look to buy out a year or two of his ARB deals. I would be fine bringing him back on like a 5-year deal, possibly even a 6-year deal as he just turned 28, but we'll kind of investigate that in the offseason. I say that because he is, pretty well known, on track to be popular, and I like his arm in right field. But that pretty much wraps it up. Well, no, not true. We have one more guy. Sorry. I know this has gone on long, but I like to dig in deep. Cedric Mullins in his first year with us, 2.4 WAR, one of our better WAR producers, positive WRC plus, 16 homers, 62 ribbies, 16 steals, only caught twice, 28 doubles. I'm really happy with this. I think, he found new life here with us in Pittsburgh. Very popular player. To all the Cedric Mullins doubters out there after we signed him to this deal, hopefully he showed you, proved you wrong. But, who knows what he's going to decide to do after next season. We still have him on a $16 million deal, but it's possible, should the team perform poorly and he is upset, it's possible he opts out. We'll just have to kind of see how he wants to handle it. But I was super happy to bring him on board and look forward to, having him as our full-time center fielder next year. So, Gonzalez, we've sort of touched on, never really got going with the UCL injury. So, we'll kind of stop things there. I know it's probably not the outcome y'all were hoping for when we started this year. It certainly wasn't the one I was hoping for. But, next episode, we'll look to figure out a kind of game plan the off season. We'll review our arbitration, plans and our development league strategy, or development lab strategies rather, and kind of advance ahead, go through the awards and look who's available. Look for who's available in free agency to try to address, our many team needs moving forward. But I guess if you made it this far in the video, I would really appreciate if you could, like the video and let me know what changes and needs you would address in the off season. There should be some time before I start making decisions where you can, make your voice heard. What positions do we need? How would you handle the rotation and Ashcraft and Bubba? Let me know your thoughts. But anyway, this is a wrap on 2026. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. See you next time.